Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to For No One in Particular. This is the second ever real episode of For No One in Particular. The first 1 to 4 episodes are all the exact same topic, which is a ranking of all 68 of Stephen King's fiction novels. Today, we're going to do something different, though, because as you've probably known, For No One in Particular is not a podcast that really has a set way of doing things. It's basically sporadic. That's why the upload schedule is all over the map. And today we are joined in studio by my wife, Lindsey. Lindsey, say hi.
Hi.
Wow. The crowd went mild.
Thank you.
With that being the case, my wife is joining me today because we are here to talk about
The show Lost.
The show Lost, one of the biggest TV shows of all time. And we figured For No One in Particular is a great show to maybe drop a specialized episode on it because each episode on this podcast is random and focused. Today's focus, like we said, though, is on the TV show Lost. And so we're going to do this episode in 3 sections. First section is going to be, we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite Lost moments, whether they were gut punch moments, moments that made us laugh, whatever that looks like. But the biggest moments from Lost that were, inspirational, whatever you want to call it. Then we're going to jump into a ranking of the seasons. So if you're unfamiliar with Lost, there's 6 seasons of it. We're going to dive deep into why we rank the seasons that we do. I don't know what my wife's put. My wife doesn't know what I've put, so this will be interesting to see how this all pans out. And then finally, for segment 3, which is going to be the fun one, we are going to do a draft of the top 5 best and top 5 worst characters. Now, of course, just like any draft, once something is off the table, it is gone for good. So if my wife picks, Jack Shepherd right off the bat, well, I'm SOL. I can't pick him anymore. So if you're unfamiliar with drafts, they're pretty simple. Before we go too much further into the show, though, I really do want to put a spoiler warning out there. If you have not seen the TV show Lost, I do not recommend that this be the first thing you listen to. I recommend that you watch the show in its entirety, come back here and see if you feel similarly to a lot of what we say. Because, again, this is a full-bore, no spoiler warning. We're diving right on into it. So we are going to say plenty of things that if you're on season 2, this is going to blow your mind and you're not going to want to know it ahead of time. So for me personally, when we finished watching Lost about a month ago now, that was my second full watch, but I'd seen Lost plenty of times over the years, but my second full front to back watch of it since I was a teenager. Now for you, that was the first watch in its entirety.
It was.
And so overall, just what was your take on the TV show Lost? You got 6 seasons. It aired from 2004 to 2010. What do you think of the show Lost? Give me a 1 to 10 review on that.
I think I gave it a 10 when we finished it.
You gave it a 9.
Oh, okay. So I gave it a 9. That last season and that last episode, though, was a 10.
It was very good.
I love that season. I love that last episode. But I will say in the beginning I was bored, and you know that. I was falling asleep, and it was slow going. But the buildup was worth it.
Yeah, I would say this. You fall asleep on everything we watch, so that's not a huge change of pace for that. Now, when it comes to the TV show Lost, I also would give it a 10 out of 10. People would put this in the TV show Hall of Fame. Is it going to be as good as The Sopranos, The Wire, Breaking Bad? It depends on your taste, right? If you're really into sci-fi and mysteries and a jungle setting, then yeah, this could be your Breaking Bad. But, in terms of just its production value, the acting levels, it's hard to really put it anything past, I would say, like probably a top 5 TV shows of all time for me, but it is on my top 10 list without a doubt. The show is very good at characters. The show is very good at mysteries. I think the setting in the show is well done. Can the acting be a bit much, a bit not enough? Yes. Are the I will say this specifically, the female characters on Lost, poorly written. And that's not a huge hot take to have. I mean, if you're a fan of Lost, if you've been a part of Lost culture, the subreddits, Facebooks, whatever that looks like, it's not a hot take to sit there and say that, yeah, Kate's character could have been written better. Juliet's character could have been written better. There's a lot of female characters on Lost that unfortunately just kind of have very basic plot elements. They don't see a ton of growth. I will say, though, for the lack of female writing, there is a ton of good writing for the male characters. They are some of the best parts of the show. You'll probably see that splayed out in the top 5 best and worsts when it comes to our characters there. But overall, Lost as a show was great. If there's one constant complaint that a lot of people will have about Lost, whether that was they watched it while it was airing, or maybe they weren't as strong of a viewer as they could have been, and maybe they missed a couple episodes here and there. The biggest complaint I always hear about Lost, and my wife would bring it up a lot when we watched the show, was, well, they're all dead. Just want to put this out there for those of you listening. If you watched Lost and your takeaway was they were dead the whole time, you're wrong. Now, I'm not going to call you an idiot,
I want to clarify that. I didn't like that.
No, you
was
did
my
it to piss me
assumption.
off.
Yes, but it wasn't that I thought they were dead. I understood all the components that were part of the show.
Wow, she really got defensive there. But no, if you do walk away from Lost thinking they were dead the whole time, you misunderstood the show. I don't know if that means you need to rewatch it. I don't know what exactly went wrong, but
Google.
Yeah, do a Google, do something. And I do see how some people could misinterpret elements of Lost for sure. There's plenty of things about Lost where it helps to go onto Google and to check these things. There's so many mysteries that are brought up. The other big complaint I hear is seasons 1 through 3 were very well established. They clearly knew what they were doing. Seasons 4, 5, and 6 kind of went all over the place. And upon first watching Lost, I did agree with that. I was very confused. Like, everything ramps up 4, 5, and 6. Like, everything happens a lot faster. You had the writer's strike that happened as well. So, there was less episodes happening too in those last 3 seasons. And so much of it happened so quickly. I can see how people do get those takeaways. But for me, I think each season had its own theme, its own goals. And I think it completed them pretty well. I don't really have some gigantic mystery at the end of Lost where I was like, wow, I wish they would have explained that. I feel like every big mystery we got came with an explanation.
I agree.
Honestly, the biggest mystery I had, and I just kind of accepted it, we ended up getting an answer to it, was why is the Dharma plane still dropping off food when Dharma clearly is done? But if you're like me, I never watched the whole, I guess, epilogue to Lost, which if you go on to Facebook, it's called, or Facebook, if you go on to YouTube, it's called the New Man in Charge. It was dropped by one of the series creators on his personal YouTube page. And it just kind of features Ben, Hurley, and Walt as they kind of just go about wrapping things up after the TV show. So questions like, why does the Dharma Initiative keep sending food, are answered in that. And I'm sure probably other questions that people might have had as well. And when you have such a big TV show with so many characters, so many things happening, I feel like their ability to get as many answers out there as possible was good. I was satisfied with it. I wasn't left wanting more. I would honestly say by the time Lost wrapped up, I was good.
I was good. Yeah, I agree.
So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to do our top 5 moments. We'll go 5 to 1. Now, Linz, I'll let you go first, ladies first, as it goes. So go ahead and give me your 5 on the top 5 moments from Lost.
So this is my favorite? Is that how we're doing this?
Your 5th favorite. So we're going to go up to 1.
Okay, so it would have been Sawyer and Juliet, just their ending. Their relationship was built on trust and respect, which is something Juliet did not have throughout the entire show, which is why I disliked her so much. But they really just, he needed her and she needed him, because Sawyer's character just really built off of her, and he became this whole new person after her, and their love was real, which is what he was looking for the entire time. It's what she was looking for, and yeah,
I would say, much like what you're saying with their love being real, the one biggest complaint, and I think it's real in terms of just it's a valid complaint, is that Kate and Sawyer's relationship was very much based off of, I think, lust and
physical attraction.
Yeah, whereas Juliet's and Sawyer's was built much more on a foundational thing, right? That was one where that's the girl you marry,
And I think with Kate and Sawyer, it would have been, it's just their toxic traits of being attracted to one another. Mm-hmm. So it just it never would have worked.
No, not realistically, not long term, and not in a healthy fashion. Okay, my number 5. Season 6, episode 8. This is from the Flash Sideways universe, which, if you're not familiar with Lost, this is what they did in season 6, where instead of flashbacks or flash forwards, you get these flash sideways. My interpretation of it is that it is simply purgatory. They have moved on. This was the universe that was created to help them move on. But at the time, we didn't quite know what it was as you're watching the show. And so it was very confusing as to, like, is this an alternate universe? Like, what's happening here? But the season 6, episode 8 reveal that Sawyer actually was a cop, I thought was masterfully done. We had seen Sawyer do his cons all throughout the show, and the one that we were probably most familiar with, because it was in his first episode reveal, we'd seen it play out a couple of times, was his, I'm going to have a briefcase, it's going to open up, a bunch of money's going to spill out, I'm going to convince this woman to help invest with me, and in reality, he's just taking this woman and their husbands for all the money they've got. We'd seen that exact con play out. Well, here it is happening again in this Flash Sideways universe. You don't really think anything's going to happen. Woman catches on to it. And then ultra reveal, it's a whole plot twist. Sawyer's actually a cop now. This was not at all a con. This was a sting operation. He's a cop. And, throughout season, I believe it was season 5, we dealt with Sawyer becoming LaFleur. and he was the head of security out at the Dharma Initiative in the 70s. Again, if you have not watched Lost, everything I'm saying is confusing. But if you have watched Lost, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So throughout season 4, honestly, season 4, 5, and 6, we saw the most character development for Sawyer. And aside from the Juliet stuff that you mentioned, he grew as a character, went from being kind of a criminal to a hero.
A leader.
Yeah, and so seeing it play out in this Flash Sideways universe as him being the cop now, it put a huge smile on my face. I loved everything about it. I thought that fit his character well with the way that they were putting him, and yeah, loved that. So you're number 4.
Okay. So I didn't write the seasons or the episodes.
That's
so
okay.
You got one up on me.
Yeah, no, I'm better.
But my number 4 was Charlie and his sacrifice when he's down in the underwater little thing that they going down. He's going down there with Desmond, and he writes on his hand, not Penny's boat. That one, I cried. Mm-hmm. It was a very emotional time for Desmond too, but Charlie to sacrifice his life for everyone on that island, mainly Claire and the baby. So yeah, that was my number 4.
And then people would say that's probably one of Lost's biggest twists, biggest sad sacrifices, of course, too. And obviously for Charlie, he knew it was coming, which made it harder for, I think, the audience, hoping that he would find a way out of it. And they give you bits and pieces that he might.
I think that was his redemption, though. He knew his life was on a downward spiral. The island kind of saved him. Well, it did save him from everything, and that was his redemption moment.
Yeah. I think one of the best episodes of Lost is the one that happens before that with his greatest hits. I think that, yes. As he's kind of knowing that he's lining up for death, he puts down his greatest hits. I thought that was really well done.
Okay, yeah. I totally forgot about the letter or the 10 top moments that he writes down for Claire.
Yeah, good stuff. My number 4. So this one's a very specific moment. I've talked to you about this before already, babe. But season 2, episode 3, orientation. So by this point in time in the show, we've now gotten the button pushing. If you're familiar with Lost, that was such a crutch for that second season. Was every 108 seconds or 108 minutes, you got to push that button or the world ends. And obviously, you've got 2 characters, Jack and Locke. Jack Shephard at this point in time being very much a man of science. John Locke consistently being a man of faith. And they get into an argument. Obviously, Jack does not want to keep pushing this button. He thinks it's stupid. John Locke very much not deterred by any sort of, scientific thought behind it. He is fully, believing that his pushing of the button is saving the world. And so they get into a small altercation. John Locke says to Jack, "Why do you find it so hard to believe?" To which Jack responds, "Why do you find it so easy?" And John Locke finally says, "It's never been easy," which I loved because in that moment, it shows so much about these 2 characters. Jack, by this point in time, we knew that he had a wife that he had saved from a car accident that every doctor is sitting there saying she is not going to survive. She's dead. She's done. Not dead and done, but, can't walk ever again and all this stuff. And she wants to be able to walk for her wedding that she's going to. Well, Jack saves her. Jack performs the surgery, essentially does a miracle. We also know that Jack has seen his father out in these woods. Jack has witnessed a lot of things and been a part of so many different miracles that it's so strange that this man is having a hard time finding faith when he himself has bore witness to and participated in miracles. And then you have John Locke on the other hand. John Locke's life has not been miracles. John Locke has had a horrible life marred by horrible people doing horrible things to him. The only miracle he's had so far is getting his legs back. But even then, the island has forced him to suffer as well. He lost his best buddy, Boone. There were so many different things that in all reality, John Locke should not have faith. The world has been against John Locke from the get-go, but yet it's a man who, no matter what, continues to just believe that there is something more, something better. And so I love that he tells Jack it's never been easy because in John Locke's life, faith is fought for. Whereas for Jack, it's right there and he doesn't accept it. He does accept it later on in the show. But in that moment, I thought those were some very character defining words spoken between the two. And I loved it.
So it's funny you bring that one up because my number 3 would be that final episode where Jack finally just accepts everything that has happened. Because he had his faith. The entire season or the show, his faith was tested, and he just did not want to believe. So, at the end, when he's meeting up with his father and things are starting to make sense to him, he realizes that all these things had happened, and it was a very emotional moment to see that realization in his character.
At the end. Number 3 for me, season 1, episode 4. I remember this one hit me really hard as a kid, was the episode Walkabout, where it is revealed that John Locke is in a wheelchair. Up until this point, the only real John Locke interactions we've had, he was kind of a strange man. He had knives. He did the whole orange smile from like The Godfather. Very strange gentleman. We don't know too much about him. We know from what we're gathering, he seems to be some sort of hunter-gatherer, tough guy, all this stuff. And all of a sudden we start seeing his life, right? We see him talking to this woman, Helen, on the phone, who at the time I assumed was a sex operator. We have him, basically getting into it with his, boss, Randy, who's a nobody. And then he's playing these kind of goofy, risk kind of strategy games. And then he goes on this walkabout and he's being told no. And then we find out he's actually in a wheelchair. And it just presents a whole new outlook. Like you watch this episode thinking, man, this guy's like a loser. Like what the heck's going on? What a goof, And then all of a sudden at the end, you're like, oh, okay. So he's actually had like a ridiculously hard life and this isn't fair. And then of course, at the end of that episode, we get the iconic John Locke line, "Don't tell me what I can't do," which I thought the actor Terry O'Quinn delivered that beautifully. I think he plays John Locke beautifully as a man who is just absolutely determined to make something of himself regardless of what life throws at him. But that wheelchair reveal, so well done. Definitely did not see that coming. And it really does start to open up this, well, what the heck is this island then? Why can this man walk again? Which obviously gets explored more as the show goes on.
So number 2 for me was when Desmond called Penny. So throughout, and again, I don't have the season or episode, but
it would be season 4, episode 5.
Oh yeah. Is that your number 1?
It is.
Yeah. So him trying to find his anchor, in order to deal with all, the time jumps that they have. But their love story is amazing because neither one of them stopped fighting for each other. He knew he wanted to get back to her. She knew she didn't know where he was, but she was trying to find him. And that phone call was that anchor to keep him grounded. So that was an emotional moment for me. Those two make me cry every time I think about them.
Yeah. My number 2, Lindsey already kind of referenced it a little bit, but I'm going to get specific to the moment, was Jack's dad greeting him at the church. Obviously, yes, the realizations that he comes to in that finale of he is getting all these flashbacks. He does not want to dive into these flashbacks. He knows something's up, but it wasn't until he goes to this church and he sees his dad. His dad is his guide into the afterlife. They have a great talk where he's, but Dad, you're dead. And he's like, I know, son, which kind of helps him to come to the realization, oh, I'm dead too. And he tells him, nobody ever does it alone, to which they then walk out. And there is a church full of all the friends and family that he had throughout the show. But just his dad being the one to kind of, help him move on. I love that. I'm very close with my father, obviously. So that moment hit me harder than most of the other moments on the show. And it was nice too, because, Jack had known prior to this, through a conversation with Sawyer, actually, that his dad was proud, that the way his dad went out was not the way he wanted to go out, because really up until that talk with Sawyer, Jack just kind of had this image of his dad who, he hates me because I got him fired from this hospital. He went and drank himself to death in Australia. Well, we come to find out in a flashback for Sawyer that Sawyer met with Christian Shepherd in this bar and they have a good talk. And Christian Shepherd tells him, my son made the right call. I need to call him and make it right. Never gets the chance to because he passes away. And so the conversation with Jack and Sawyer, at some point, I don't remember which episode it happens in, where he does tell him, I met your dad. Your dad said that he was proud of you, and it sounds like he didn't get to make that phone call, so I thought you should know. So, Jack knew his dad was a better man than what had left the planet, but it was nice to see him actually get to have that conversation with his dad and see it for himself instead of his last moments being as bad as they were. Loved that. That's my number 2.
I think that church scene at the very end was really the best way to close everything up. Even though it was sad, they just having all of them reconnect, see each other, before they move on was a perfect ending. My number 1, and this is only because I'm a mom, so this one really, really hits home for me, is when Jin and Sun see their shared history together, and Jin gets a glimpse of his daughter that he never got to meet. And I'm going to cry now.
She cries a lot.
Well, it's sad. And then for them to pass away together, he's not leaving her. She physically cannot leave, but it was that was my number 1 because as a parent that hurts.
Mm-hmm. My number 1, and it was Lindsey's number 2, is Penny and Desmond's phone call, season 4, episode 5, The Constant. I love Desmond's story. I think Desmond is an absolutely tortured soul who just continues to do the right thing, and obviously Desmond's biggest crutch in life was that he considered himself not enough, whether that was for Charles Widmore or Penny or just for himself. He always doubted himself. He never fully believed in himself. But by the end of the show, he knows he's a hero. He continues to do the right thing. I mean, he is probably the most selfless character in the show. I don't think there's really any doubt about it. From whether he was traveling back in time, knowing that he has to go back to that island, relive all of this because it's the only way to save everyone. He just made a lot of sacrifices. And the Constant episode was nice because it was finally some payoff for that man who has suffered. And he took a bet. He bet on love. He bet on him and Penny's love, being that constant, that she would answer this phone call, years and years into the future. Desmond's got a lot of time travel stuff about him, as we know, and she did. She loved him back. She was ready for that phone call, and it all worked out, and she saved him, and obviously he goes on to save a lot of people himself, and yeah, Desmond, obviously, solid character.
I don't know how true this is, but I was reading today that he was only supposed to have about 3 episodes, but he became, that man is a phenomenal actor. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he went a lot further than 3 episodes.
Yeah, no, he was definitely more than one off. All right, and with that ends our top 5 moments. I don't have any real ads to play on this show, but I'm going to go ahead and give us a break, and we'll catch you guys for the ranking of the lost seasons. Welcome back to For No One in Particular. We are now at segment 2 of this Lost deep dive episode, and we are going to talk about the seasons of Lost. That's right. There are 6 seasons, all of them honestly incredibly different. Not to a fault or anything, but they're just very different. And we're going to go ahead and rank them. These are our personal rankings. Again, those are our personal top 5 moments. We are not professional television critics. But we are fans of the show, and maybe you feel similarly. So we're going to start with my wife here. Lindsey, what do you have as the worst of these 6 lost seasons? I already know what you're going to say.
Well, you already warned me that you're going to one-up me in your pros and cons list, but I wrote season 2 as...
Okay, that's wild. Okay.
I know, and I know you think we got answers to a lot of the mysteries in season 1, and I was just really bored. And you know that because when we were watching it and I was dozing off, or I would huff and puff because these episodes were so long and drawn out, I had a hard time sticking with it.
Okay, all right.
And it's not to say that I didn't love the character build-up continuing and the mystery behind the island and the button pushing and all that, but oh man, I don't know that one. I struggled getting through it. Okay,
season 2. All right, so my worst season of all of Lost is season 4. So
I don't. From what I read, that's ranked as one of the best.
I know,
which is interesting.
I found it as an episode or a season where here's what I wrote for the pros. For season 4, you've got the freighter, which again was an interesting, new element to the show. You have the death of Michael, which I think, he did get some redemption there. Obviously not enough because he ended up being stuck on the island. And then you had the introduction of the Oceanic 6, and we were trying to figure out who those 6 are going to be. But in the same token, that's the season where you have the deaths of Danielle Rousseau, Alex Rousseau, and Carl. I thought their deaths were lame. I thought, for characters that, and I get that Alex's death ends up playing heavily on Ben, but I didn't buy it. I felt like they pushed that after the fact, but in the moment I did not get that. And I don't know, it's hard. I just feel like their deaths could have been handled differently. And then the freighter to me ended up being nothing. They don't escape on it. It blows up. It doesn't even kill Jin. We thought it killed Jin, but it didn't. There was just the best thing that came out of the freighter was some of the characters we got. Miles, Faraday and Charlotte. And so, that was the best thing that came to the freighter. Martin Keamy, the bad guy from the freighter.
The freighter really was to show us Charles Widmore and his horrible side.
Yeah, to me, it was a nothing. It was a nothing thing. The best thing that came out of season 4 is obviously King Lapidus, Frank Lapidus, Captain Lapidus, my hero, Kenny Rogers.
Yeah,
I love him.
He's pretty awesome.
But yeah, no, overall, season 4 I found very weak. So now I'm going to start us off on the 5th best. So my 5th best Lost season, number 5 out of 6, I put season 3. So season 3, my highs and lows. Oh, you don't like that.
That's
I put
crazy.
that so low.
Yep.
My highs and lows, I feel like we obviously get a lot more of the others. We get the Dharma Initiative.
That starts in season 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the others have been around since season 2.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I'm looking at mine and...
Yeah, no, you're good. Obviously, you have the big Charlie death, and we get our flash forwards. And then the season ends with Jack yelling the famous, "We got to go back." However, season 3 also has some of the worst episodes of the whole series. You've got Jack's tattoo episode, garbage.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That one is horrible.
You also have the Nikki and Paulo episode, garbage. Like, the funniest thing about that is that they got buried alive. Like, it's hilarious. But I don't know if it was supposed to be played as funny.
I think my favorite thing about that season is Ben Linus.
Well, why don't you wait until it's your turn to talk about it? And then my other biggest gripe with the season, the prisoners arc. They were in those cages and stuck in they were in there for too long. And yes, we got bits and pieces of, the others and everything while they were prisoner, but so much of it was nothing. I hated that we had to turn the Kate, Jack, Sawyer love triangle became such a focus. And then, I don't know, to me, the first half of season 3 is rough. It gets better, but the first half is rough. So that is what I put as the 5th best of the Lost seasons. So what do you have?
I did season 5. I enjoyed the time travel of it and all those elements, but I found myself, I was struggling to follow along with it because there was so much happening. But I don't know, the other plane crashing on the island, the Flight 316, whatever, that and all the new characters that came in so late, I think threw me off a little bit. So it was hard to follow along, just like season 2.
Okay. All right. Any pros that you had for that one?
I mean, they go back to the island. John Locke is alive at that point, and he's himself, right? Because when he gets, he's dead.
He dies in that season.
That's
so
right.
we get a good chunk of him being normal, but he does eventually become
He does. But when he comes back to that island, which sucks, we kind of we hope the island brings him back, but it's not actually him that is back. So,
all right. Yeah. So season 5 was your 5th best. All right. You're going to go ahead and start us off with the 4th best Lost season in your opinion.
So the 4th best is season 4, in my opinion. Just because the main characters are able to leave the island, so we're kind of getting a new setting. We get to see more of Charles Widmore and his completely dark side, his devious plans. That as a father, I have a hard time. Well, as a mother, I have a hard time wrapping my head around a parent doing any of that to his child. Same with Ben Linus, but we get to see the island moving locations and times, and just from this little wheel turning. So that was pretty cool.
All right. My number 4 is season 5. So yeah, like you said, the positives for me for season 5, I love the time travel that we got in season 5. I loved Juliet's death. I thought it was very hard hitting. And granted, you get the start of the death and it finishes in season 6, but you know that she's dead by the end of season 5. Yeah. You get Locke's death and you get LaFleur, which is, just so much fun for Sawyer. Now, my negatives though with season 5, the time travel can be confusing. Saeed basically becomes a side character in season 5, which sucks. Like his role season 5 onward really diminished, which was rough because Saeed was like one of the best parts of the first few seasons of Lost, and then he just stopped doing stuff, and it wasn't as fun. And it was just a very dense season. A lot of things happen in season 5 because that's your time travel, them getting back to the island, Locke's death, and getting taken over by the Man in Black. Like, so much happens in season 5 that can be a lot. I think watching it a second time, knowing what's happening, it really allowed me to process everything a little bit more slowly. Because I remember as a teenager, granted I'm a dumb teenager at the time, watching season 5, that was where I really did start to get confused on Lost. And I'm like, okay, so they're straight up like time traveling. Like there's a lot happening. But the rewatch definitely helped, and it made me like season 5 a lot more on the rewatch. Because before this big rewatch we did, I used to tell people seasons 1 through 3 are great, and then 4 through 6 suck. Rewatching this, no, I feel very different about that now. All right, so I'm starting us off here with the 3rd best Lost season, in my opinion. I've got season 1. Season 1 I have as the 3rd best. A lot of people put it as number 1. I totally get that, but my positives for it would be you get the starts of a lot of mysteries. So, obviously if you're watching this, you're really hoping this show doesn't get canceled because they set up a lot in the first season. So much is set up that you really want to get answers. And luckily the show was able to do that. The backstories were great, that you get some of the best backstory episodes in season 1 and some of the worst. Kate's are boring. And then the others, you get the introduction of the others, because at first you're watching the show and you're thinking, oh, these guys crashed, this island's kind of weird. And then all of a sudden there's one amongst them, Ethan, who was not on the flight manifest, and that just really gets you going. Then they find the hatch, and there's so many setups, which were really fun in season 1. Not a ton of payoff, but that's fine. Obviously, it's a show that was planning on being around for a while. My biggest hassles with season 1, a lot of filler episodes. It is a very slow burn, but the problems were always the same crap.
I thought I complained about that to you, that everything was
did.
just the same thing. And you kept telling me I was ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't like giving you the...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But no, you were correct that the problems would become the same. We need this. We need to move to the caves. We need to go back to the beach. Sawyer's hoarding stuff. Like, it was... So much of it just started getting repetitive. So that way it was really nice, come season 2 when those problems stopped being the focus and they started looking at other things. But tons of pros and cons for season 1. Tons of pros and cons, which is why I kind of have it mid-ground there at number 3 on my list.
All right. Number 3 for me is season 3. You mentioned earlier that we meet the others, and I think we really get to know Ben Linus.
We met the others in season 2.
Well, yeah, but we get to see more of them.
Oh, yeah. We get to their base.
And then Ben Linus, we get to really see who he is as a person. And this will come later in my top 10, but the guy who played him, I don't know his name.
Michael Emerson.
Yeah, he's phenomenal at getting people to hate him. So he was a huge, as much as I hated him throughout watching it, I enjoyed his character. Mm-hmm. And then we're introduced to the time travel. Charlie dies. That was a pivotal moment for us because he was a character we loved.
I will give this. Seasons 2 and 3 have some of the best season openers because season 2 opens with Desmond in the hatch, right? You don't really know what's going on. Here's this guy. He's working out. He's playing this music. And all of a sudden, there it is. He's the guy in the hatch. And then season 3 was the opener where we followed Juliet. And it's like this totally normal suburban village. They're doing a book club. And then all of a sudden the plane crashes and you realize you're in Othersville. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah, this whole village of people living there. It's crazy.
Okay, so this is your number 2. Yes.
So my number 2 is season 1. It had a long, slow start that I think had a lot of good buildup for the characters. We really got to see their traumas, their past that defined their character and who they were. But I don't know. I really liked that season, so I'm surprised you put it lower than me. Because I thought you would put it higher.
No, it's gonna be interesting when you see what my number 1 is.
Well, the only one you haven't said is 6.
No, I haven't said 2 seasons. Because now I'm gonna say, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Season 1.
So my number 2 is season 6. So,
God, that's crazy.
Which is obviously going to be your number 1 here.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, season 6, I love season 6. That's why it's number 2. Yeah, obviously you've got the end episodes, the Flash Sideways universe. You get payoffs to pretty much all the twists that I was mentioning earlier. My biggest downsides with season 6, I think the entirety of the Temple storyline could have done without. The Temple itself ended up being kind of nothing. Dogen seemed like a cool character and then doesn't do anything. Same thing with his hippie buddy, Lennon. And then...
That was really short-lived, though. Like, it wasn't...
But that's the thing, right? If this is your last season, you've only got so many episodes to work with. Like, make something more happen with this temple.
I think with season 6, it's just so there... It was an emotional one for me, especially that last episode. So I think that's why I keep going back to it.
And I get it. I thought the whole magic cork thing was lame, especially when you find out that originally the writers wanted it to be a volcano, but they didn't have it in the budget because a volcano would have made a lot more sense, right? The black smoke monster coming from a volcano. And the final climactic battles and stuff happening at a volcano. It would have been so much cooler, but budget was gone. Do you know why the budget was gone by the time? The temple. So the temple ate most of the budget.
That's
and to me, I would have rather we done a volcano than this weird hole.
Yeah, that would have made a lot more sense.
And then I hated Saeed's arc in the 6th season. I do like that he redeems himself in the sub, but he did, him becoming the zombie, it just,
it really just ruined his character after season 3.
Okay, and then I start us off for season 1. So, or my top season. So yeah, my top season is season 2. I love season 2. I think that's when the mythology expanded like crazy. I think all of a sudden we get into this hatch. We learn what the heck the Dharma Initiative is. We learn about the Tailies. We get introduced to the Others leader with Ben Linus. Walt gets kidnapped. Like there's a lot of things that happen in season 2, but again, it's still slow burn. Like we're not given all the answers yet, but we are given more. We still don't know anything about, Jacob. We don't know anything about the smoke monster. There's still a lot that doesn't happen yet. But I do love the Hatch. I think the whole Hatch storyline was great. Obviously, Desmond is my favorite character. I know I'm not going to get him for the draft, but he is my favorite character, and so just getting his introduction was great. Now, obviously, there is some negative sides to Season 2 as well. The Tailies themselves, Mr. Echo, fantastic character. Sucks that he ended up leaving the show for personal reasons, because would have loved to have seen his character keep going. And he was pretty much it. Bernard's okay. Ana Lucia is awful, in my opinion. And Libby had moments, but wasn't great. And then obviously you have Michael's turn as well, basically to the dark side, which happens very suddenly. And it's hard, right? Because as a dad, I get why he does it, but then he also shoots Libby as well. And I'm like, well, he's just kind of having a bad time here. And the introduction to Ben too, where, as a watcher, you're trying to figure out, is this guy telling the truth? Is he not? They come across that hot air balloon and you're like, oh shoot, maybe he is telling the truth. And then, nope, dead guy's not got the same name. It was an interesting season. I loved season 2. I thought it did justice to season 1 while dropping a lot of the garbage that season 1 had as well.
All right. So my number 1 is season 6. Loved the ending of the entire season. It closed it up really well. We see the purpose of the island, the connection between evil and good. The characters' time on the island is a crucial part of their lives. And when I watched the final episode, I saw that and what it meant to them to finally come to terms with everything so they can move on. There was a lot of beautiful moments in that entire season, specifically that last episode. I really can't forget that.
No, that was very good. All right, so there you have it. Just a quick recap. Lindsey's Lost seasons ranked from worst to first. We've got seasons 2, 5, 4, 3, 1, 6. And my seasons ranked are 4, 3, 5, 1, 6, 2. So funny enough, my top season was your worst. Other than that, we literally did not link up on any of these. No. None of ours made sense.
It's just like our lives.
Yeah, amen to that. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and catch you in segment 3, where we will do our best and worst character drafts.
Welcome back to For No One in Particular.
Wow, you did a good. For those of you listening, that was the third take for her. Would have been my second take because I also messed up. So you're not alone. All right, we've got our top 5 best and top 5 worst character drafts. Now, I will be gracious enough to let my wife draft first for the top 5 best. However, I will draft first for the top 5 worst.
Oh, that's fine.
So, Linz, right off the bat, who do you have as your first overall pick for the top 5 best Lost characters?
Desmond Hume is my number 1. It would have been John Locke.
I wish it would have been.
I loved him throughout the entire show. But Desmond's love and his devotion and just his overall character is amazing.
Yeah, I know. He would
and I
have
know
been my
you loved
number
him.
1.
I know. That's why I had to take him.
My number 1. Oh gosh, I got to try to think about like what you might steal here. So I'm going to go with Sawyer. Yes.
Okay, see, that makes me mad.
Yes. Okay. So I am getting James Ford, aka Sawyer. One of the characters I would say probably has the best character development. Goes from absolute just unlikable piece of crap to one of your favorite characters by the end. Complete and total character redemption, well earned, and just overall very likable. You love his nicknames, you love his accent. Sawyer is my number 1.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. He becomes definitely more selfless throughout the show.
All right, what do you got for your second? Oh wait. Oh no, we're not going to snake it. That's fine. Yeah.
You don't want to snake it?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna go with John Locke.
You can have him.
I love John Locke throughout the entire show. Like you said earlier, he had faith throughout the whole thing, even though he has been through horrible things throughout his life with his father and just horrible luck throughout his life. But he always had faith, and I think that's what makes him a loving person or loving character.
Okay. All right. So John Locke is your number 2. My number 2, I am going to go with Jack Shepherd. I think, yes, it's a easy pick, main character of the show, whether you like it or not, but he's also very lovable. I think Matthew Fox is a very good actor. I think he sells all of the emotional moments well, and when he gets angry, you feel it. I think he does such a good job with Jack. Hard to say character development so much because he took a long time, and he just tends to like get new issues, right? He goes from alcoholism to drug abuse to this, that, and the other thing. But the one thing that you can say about him for sure is he learns to, number one, not always having to lead. He learns to take faith in the island and his role in the island. But he even has, for one of John Locke's, I would say, biggest adversaries throughout the show, there comes that point when they're both in the cave. You've got John Locke, who is now inhabited by the Man in Black, and Jack, and he tells him, you wearing John Locke, as who you are is an insult to the man. I wish I could have told him this when he was alive, but he ends up coming to terms with that fact and realizing that, yes, John Locke was correct. There was something special about this place. They were needed here. And by the time Jack actually realized that it was too late for John. And so although he doesn't get to say that to him in that moment, it was nice to see that turnaround for him. And I love Jack. I love how much he struggles with things and how he's not perfect. In fact, he makes a lot of bonehead moves too, just like John Locke does. So yeah, number 2 for me, Jack Shephard.
I think I just hated how long it took for him to realize everything.
Yeah, that's fair.
For us to see that development in his character, because for so long I remember getting annoyed with him because he kept making the same decisions and he would throw these tantrums over the same things every single time. There was no learning in those early seasons. Mm-hmm. It took him a while.
Oh, she's thinking about it.
I am. So Jin and Sun are married. Can they be one?
You know what?
Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna go with Jin.
Well, then I'll give you Sun anyways, because Sun's not on my list.
Perfect.
So I'll just put the Kwans.
Yeah, Kwans. That's what I wrote on mine. So Jin, though, on the island found freedom and found his purpose because he was so tied up in Sun's father and the business and doing all these dark things for her father just to keep them afloat. I think he lost sight of who he was. So when he got to that island, he found himself. And he's my number 3, but I love their relationship as well. Him and Sun are strong. I don't like what she did to him, but they're a package. They come together.
Fair enough. All right. My number 3, I'm going to go with my main man, Sayid. Obviously, he was a big reason as to why I ranked a lot of the seasons the way I did. I felt like he was such a strong character, and I felt the writers just didn't do much good by him towards the end of the show. But Sayid, very lovable, tortured soul. Obviously he is, he's a bad guy in terms of his actions and his past and everything. But at the end of the day, I mean, he doesn't take pride in the facts. He is a tool. He was used the way he needed to be used, but he did have a soul. And obviously he was able to make it to, their little purgatory together with everybody else at the end there. So you'd like to think that he redeemed himself, but he was very likable. And if Jack wouldn't have been the leader, I feel like Sayid would have been the natural one. He was cool, calm, and collected. He was dangerous, but he was also caring. Very, very likable character.
I agree. The only thing I didn't like was his ending.
Yes.
But I do like Sayid. My number 4 would be Charlie Pace. And I think it just goes along with Jin as well. He, before going onto the island, he struggled with addiction. So he was just trying to find his purpose. So he's a relatable character, I think, for a lot of people. And I'm not necessarily saying that, everyone's doing drugs, but addiction to something and just trying to find a purpose in life. And when he got to that island, he was on that path to find that.
Okay. So Charlie Pace, definitely a good redemption arc. Okay, number 4. I don't think anything else of mine is going to be stolen by you. But I do think you have this one on your list. I'm tempted to take him, but I will not take Ben Linus. Instead, I am going to go with Daniel Faraday. Daniel Faraday, a Weasley man, probably not in most people's top 5. There was something about him I loved. I loved that he was just...
What, Charlotte?
Yeah. Oh, his love life, lame. He could have picked a better one there. But I think he had a very tragic story with the fact that he basically lives his life to die because no matter what, he gets killed by his own mother in the past. And she knows that, which is why she sets him on this vicious course of only these studies, these, physics, all that kind of stuff. There was no room for passion, for love, or anything like that. He couldn't play the piano. There was so many things that went wrong for Daniel Faraday with this mother forcing everything upon him. And he didn't know why, right? He spent his whole life, becoming this genius for him to die. And he's just got a very tragic story. He ends up also being Charles Widmore's son. Not much benefit to that in this moment, unfortunately. And I don't know. I enjoyed the fact that he was a likable character who, just was not going to get any sort of happy ending no matter how hard he tried. And I found him skittish and funny. So I don't know. I liked Daniel Faraday a lot. So Faraday is going to be my number 4.
Okay. I had him on my worst just because when I started watching the show, I hated it or hated him. But Ben Linus is my number 5.
I figured.
And I don't go, man, he is that character. There was a lot going on with him. You know, his past was he dealt with an abusive father once his mom died because his father just could not handle it mentally. So he made a lot of decisions that normal people wouldn't make. But he had a caring side to him. He took on this child that he didn't need to, but
he stole her. He stole
her, but he cared for her in his own crazy way. And I don't know, despite his actions, he did have empathy. So I'm going to go with Ben Linus as my number 5.
All right, Ben Linus, your number 5. My final pick, if you didn't see it coming, ladies and gentlemen, you weren't listening to earlier in the show. My number 5 pick, it's my boy, King Lapidus. Frank Lapidus, the pilot who could make it all happen. He's the reason that Sawyer got off that island, Kate off the island, Claire. He's a hero. He gets no respect, but the man is the only reason that our favorite characters got to live and see another day. King Lapidus, absolute legend.
Doesn't he live?
Yeah, he lives.
Okay, so there's his
moment. He needs a statue in his honor. King Lapidus, my king. Love Frankie boy. All right. So that's it.
I'm surprised you didn't put Hugo up there at all.
He was on my list, and I like Hugo. Hugo's just hard because he's just dumb. Like, he doesn't have a lot of the hero qualities that the others do.
Okay.
There's moments of it, but for the most part, he's kind of just a bumbling sidekick for most of the show.
Had you taken Charlie from me, I probably would have put in Hugo.
Do you have any other honorable mentions then to share?
Probably be Hugo. I mean, he's in the same boat as Charlie, where it's he's a relatable person. He had a lot of mental health issues. He had an eating disorder, which went along with his mental health issues. So I think he's relatable to people.
Okay. No, he was on my list for just options. The ones that were ahead of him on my list that I didn't pick, Mr. Echo. Had he had more screen time, sure, he would have easily nailed that list, but we only got him for, a limited piece of it. The only good thing that came out of the tailies, Bernard's fine. And then Miles was my other one. Miles Strom. Hateable at first just because he's such a cocky little dude, but by the end of it, I don't know. I found him lovable.
I think my favorite moment with him was when he realized who his dad was.
Yes.
And that
Peter Chang.
Yeah, didn't he also realize that was his son? That was the moment. That's right.
He knew a little bit before his dad because they were kind of messing. Like, Hugo would throw it out there and he would tell him to stop and everything. But no, they definitely realize it and have enough time together to kind of get that bond going, which was nice. Yeah. All right, so now we are on to our top 5 worst Lost characters. I get to go first. I get the very easy job of saying Ana Lucia, who is, and she's Michelle Rodriguez, the actress, always does the same faces, kind of plays the same character in pretty much everything she does, to a fault, to a T. I don't know. I mean, she's in Fast and Furious. She's in, I believe she's in Avatar. She's in the Resident Evil series, and she just plays angry person. She does it well. But in the context of Lost, it was just very, very hard to like her. There was not a lot of redemption for her. We meet her, our first instance with her is her killing Shannon. Right after, Shannon, who would have been on my worst character list, got the redemption that I wanted Shannon to get. All of a sudden, Shannon's likable, and boom, she's dead. And I know in the moment, we're not supposed to cheer for Michael shooting Ana Lucia, but I certainly did. I was done with her character. She was the worst part about the tailies, and a piss poor leader. She was the antithesis to Jack. I get it, but no thanks.
No, I agree. She was definitely listed on mine, so you took that one from me.
I figured.
But my number 1 now is going to be Charles Widmore. Yeah, because he was so focused on power that it overrode all other emotions. His relationship with his daughter became null and void. It wasn't as important as it was getting that island back and, having this power over Ben Linus, the rivalry between them. And I could say the same for Ben Linus too. The rivalry was the most important thing to them. So Charles Widmore as the crappy father that he is.
Okay. My next one. Oh, there's so many different ways I can go with this. I'm going to go with Arnst. He is the science teacher who gets blown up. The dude he was an ass. I didn't like him at all. The best part about Arnst was when he blew up.
I didn't even think about him because when you look up Lost characters, he's like not.
Yeah, because he got blowed up. Now, the best part about Arnst is when Hugo pulls a piece of meat off him. He's like, oh, you got, or he points, I think, to Jack, and he's like, oh, you've got some Arnst on you. Arnst, absolute loser. Talked about how he knew Dynamite, did not know Dynamite, trash character. Arnst, glad you're dead.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. You're up. Yeah. Good luck topping that.
I think mine are based off of being a parent. So I'm going with Eloise Hawking.
Ah, yes. The woman who sets her son up to die.
Yeah. And that, you explained it very well earlier, was she literally kills her son. Mm-hmm. She is not a nice person at all. Every interaction she had with all the other characters was just very demanding, her telling them what they need to do, but never really clarifying anything to them. So I don't like her.
Yeah, no, and a lot of people will say, well, she had to. She knew it was coming. She sacrifices the most. But to me, it's worth a shot. Like, as a parent, right? It's worth a shot trying to change something than to just accept that you're going to kill your child. I don't know. All right, Eloise Hawking. Very nice, babe. My number 3. My number 3 is Frogurt.
Who?
Frogurt. He's the guy who gets shot with an arrow. I think it's a flaming arrow. But he was the one just randomly appeared, I believe, season 5. Randomly shows up. He's apparently part of the Losties, has been there the whole time. They do that sometimes where they'll just throw in new characters and pretend they were there the whole time. And Frogurt was one, kept giving crap to Sawyer about like the decisions they were making as a group. And I loved it when Frogurt died. You'll know because I'm sure you're Googling him right now, aren't you?
No, I'm trying to find him literally on the list of characters.
Yeah, well, Frogurt sucks. So I hate Frogurt. Frogurt, see you in hell, pal.
Okay, yeah, I can't even put a face to this.
Yeah, I'll show you afterwards, and you'll be like, "Oh, that guy." If you're listening to this podcast, go ahead, stop what you're doing. I'm gonna count to 3. You stop what you're doing. You type in Frogurt Lost, and you'll be like, "Oh, that guy." Right?
Frogurt.
3, 2, 1. Okay, there you go. You're welcome. You now know exactly who we're talking about.
My number 3 is Paolo.
Oh, okay.
Boring.
Boring.
Yeah, annoying. Really, him
annoying.
And his love interest, whatever,
Nikki.
with Nikki. Yeah, they were annoying.
I'm gonna give you both of them in one.
Oh, perfect. When I saw him for it's I don't want to compare it to like Baywatch, but he's like the pretty boy who's out of place.
And the
he
bummer
didn't
thing
fit
is,
in.
he's a good actor because we've seen him in Westworld where he was much better. But he
played a robot. But in Westworld, like
but it was. How come the robot had more going for it?
That is true.
Paolo did.
He was really boring, and there was no chemistry between him and Nikki, and out of place.
All right, good pick. Probably should go with a real one now. So I'm gonna cross Nikki off my list. She was on my list. I'm gonna go with Horace Goodspeed. He was the leader of the others, became friends with LaFleur, and ends up hooking up with the one gal that they saved. Back in the 70s, and he was the de facto leader. When we come to see him again, he's drunk, throwing grenades. He overall just not a very good leader. Obviously was not able to see through the lies of our Losties and everything, which was to our benefit. But just, kind of a mess of a human being. Wasn't there for the birth of his kid, and just overall not very likable. There wasn't a ton of character development for him either. And you thought he might end up being something because the first couple times that we dealt with Horace Goodspeed, it was when John Locke fell into that pit of dead bodies and was able to find that map or whatever in his pocket. So you're like, okay, Horace Goodspeed, this could be somebody big. And then again, we get to see him in a Hurley ghost interaction where he tells Hurley to do some stuff. And you're like, okay, so this guy was important.
He's also the one who goes out to Sawyer and Kate too in the locked cages, right? And you kind of feel like he has some empathy for them. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
No. Horace Goodspeed's the one who's alive in the 70s.
Oh,
You're thinking of Tom Friendly.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yes. Okay.
No, Horace Goodspeed was the leader of the others, or the leader of Dharma, in the 1970s. Again, not a very good leader. Ended up not being a very critical character, which I thought he would be, which was disappointing. And it's a bummer, too, because he has played, if you don't know, he plays Percy in The Green Mile, that actor. I'm spacing the actor's name off the top. So he can play like a devious little rat because Percy is a very unlikable character in The Green Mile.
Yeah, it's all clicking now.
But yeah, Horace Goodspeed, just kind of a nothing character and just so unimportant for somebody who had such a large role in Dharma. So, yeah.
Well, since you have a few characters that I could not remember, I'm sure you'll remember her. I hope I say her name right. Akara, or is it Achara? The one who gives Jack the tattoo in that horrible episode. It was unnecessary.
I could not tell you her name.
Well, that is her name. Achara. Achara or Akara.
Yeah.
You're right. That entire episode was
garbage.
Horrible.
Garbage episode. So ACH, you said?
ARA.
ARA. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna put together some graphics after this, and I'm gonna have to look up these characters. Okay, so I'm on my number 5. Ah, man. I've got 4 to choose from here. I'm gonna go with Alana. Alana was introduced in season 6, I believe she was introduced. That's where she's primarily at. She was the friend of Jacob, the one who was assigned to help get the others back. She pretends to be like some sort of DEA agent and captures Saeed to make sure he's on the plane as well when they go back. So I guess she would have been introduced in season 5. But she takes a real role in season 6 where she's this member of a different tribe of the others who are just strictly like Jacob's agents, his bodyguards. Number 1, she fails as a bodyguard. Jacob's killed before they even know what's going on. Number 2, she just gets blown up by dynamite in the 6th season. Like she would, and again, it's another one of those situations where this character is set up like they're gonna be something, because the first time we meet her chronologically is Jacob visiting her in a hospital. She's covered in all these bandages, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to need your help. And, here we are. This godlike figure, Jacob, is going to you in a hospital bed asking for your help. Like, you must be a big deal. And no, she was not. She just gets blown up. And it was just, she was a nothing character. And so, yeah, Alana, very boring and dead. So, yeah. Did all my characters get blown up or killed?
You know who she reminds me of? Would be Ana Lucia. Just, I don't know.
Ana Lucia just plays it too hard. Like, she tries so hard to be angry.
But
it's cringe.
It's more of that macho female role. They both really, they both had that. My number 5 is Naomi Dorrit.
Oh, man, you're going to have to. Oh,
from
she was the helicopter. Yes.
Yeah, I did not like her. I remember when her acting just seemed really fake to me. It didn't seem genuine. So, yeah, I'm going to go with her. And that's just my personal reason.
Okay.
No show.
Any dishonorable mentions that you wanted to throw out there?
I had Juliet listed on my top 5.
For best or worst?
For worst.
Yeah.
I could not write her name down. Like, it's written down, but I couldn't put it actually on my list because I hated her all the way up until season 5, season 6, when her and Sawyer fall in love.
Mm-hmm. No, she had a huge
character change. Yeah.
Anybody else you had on your list?
I had Ben Linus on my top 5 worst too, and he was on best and worst. Yeah. But
it just depends on if you believe in his redemption. There's some people that don't believe he truly was redeemed. I thought his Flash Sideways universe did a good job of helping him come to terms with the people he loved over power. But even then, in the final 2 episodes of the last season of Lost, he doesn't enter the church. He himself says, I'm not quite ready to go in yet, even though Hurley, kind of pushes him to do so. He knows that he's not fully developed where he needs to be. Still huge jumps. I do believe in Ben Linus's redemption. I enjoyed his redemption. I enjoyed seeing him in the epilogue, kind of working with Hurley. That was fun. Anybody else on your dishonorables?
I'm surprised you didn't have her, but Kate.
Kate's one where she wasn't one of the worst, but she was far from one of the best.
Yeah.
She's a very mid-level character.
She really is. And what did I write down for her? Because I had made a list of top 10 characters, and she had made that, but number 9. Really, her only good quality was her protective nature. Mm-hmm. It came with her mother. Her life. The baby. What's the baby's name? Aaron. Claire, and wanting to mother them. So that's really her only good quality.
Yeah,
she's resourceful.
Well, my 3 dishonorable mentions: Boone. He was just so dumb. When he died, it sucked, not because Boone was dead, but because it was going to hurt Jack and John. Jack obviously unable to save him, and John because it was pretty much the only friend he had out there. But Boone, dumb person.
I think I disliked his sister more. They
were both very hateable.
Yeah, and their backstory, it's a little twisted and kind of gross. So
yeah, it's almost incest. Because they're not blood related.
They're not blood related, but I mean,
but
she uses him,
and
manipulates him. So
at least
I would put her above him.
I think she had a better redemption than he did because he went from like being dumb to just being John's lapdog and then being dead.
Okay, but was her redemption really? I wouldn't say it was redemption because by the time she realized all the bad she had done, she died. So she didn't have this.
She was mid redemption. She was in the process of being.
She was just starting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also had Danielle Rousseau on here. You could pretty much put any one of the Russos on there,
Yep.
which would be, well, I count Carl into that as well. But Danielle, hers and why she would have been one of the worst is because of just the potential to be more interesting. Here we go. There's this woman who's lived here for years. She's got this radio signal coming out. She was the mysterious French woman. And then she just ends up being annoying. I found her
not really
annoying.
helpful.
No.
In any way.
And like so back and forth on when she was helpful and wasn't. It was just, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of her or her daughter. Her daughter was boring. And then Charlotte was my third one. I've got a lot of personal hate for Charlotte. I feel like that forehead was just a bit much.
I thought she's.
No, her accent annoyed me. The only reason she didn't make the list is because I did find it interesting that Daniel Faraday does find her as a child. And I was like, okay, so she really was like from here. And like, there's, I guess some sort of substance to her, but no, she gets a nosebleed and dies. One big shout out, because I didn't even write him down, and I'm shocked I forgot about him completely. I don't know if he would have made the list for top 5 best, but our boy Richard Alpert was very likable.
So I wanted to, but you know why I wanted to.
It's because you think he's got pretty eyes.
He's got beautiful eyes. But I don't know. The other characters just had more meaning to me.
Richard Alpert was one where he's set up in an interesting fashion because here's this guy who clearly like knows a lot. He's essentially a consigliere for Jacob, Why is this guy second in command to, Benjamin Linus? Like, he clearly knows more. Then all of a sudden we find out he's ageless, which is an insane twist. You're like, what the heck? And then we all of a sudden get his backstory, which his backstory episode's very good, where he's, this Spaniard guy loses his wife, becomes a slave, gets, saved by the man in black, but then chooses Jacob. Such an interesting character for like nothing to happen.
Yeah.
And for him to be wrong so often. That's the other hard part I have with Jacob and the Man in Black and Richard Alpert, and I get that they are all flawed characters. None of them is actually God, but here's 3 individuals who have been alive for, thousands of years, and they just keep kind of making bonehead moves.
So what would you say Jacob's bonehead moves were?
For Jacob's, if his goal was to die, then he succeeded, right? Mm-hmm. But it's hard to gauge, like, if he actually thought he was going to die, because we were told by Hugo that Jacob did not think Ben Linus would do that. So he wasn't expecting to die. So he put all his faith in Ben Linus to not kill him when Ben Linus had done nothing up to that point to make you think otherwise.
So why go and make this list of people that you think are potential protectors for the island or could be protectors if you don't think you're not going to if you think you're going to live forever and be the protector of this island, why make that list?
Yeah,
I think part of him either wanted to, he didn't want to do this for gosh knows how long, or he knew it was coming. But because he's not God, but he's in that realm like Jesus or what was the one I read? Aslan from Narnia.
Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe.
So I do think he knew something. There's a reason why this list was made of these people.
Yeah, and you do get these moments too, though, where like in his conversation with Richard Alpert, where he's trying to explain to Alpert like what his role is on the island. And he tells him, I bring people here and, I hope that they can do good. And Richard Alpert says, well, why don't you just tell them what to do? Or why don't you help them become good? To which Jacob responds with, well, I don't want to force my hand. I don't want to force them to do anything. And Richard's response to him is, well, the Man in Black will.
Yeah, but I think with Jacob, he wanted people to realize their faults and come to terms with everything on their own. That's why the ending was so good, because Jack, when he finally did, like, that was a huge climactic ending because he knew what he had to do to save the island and just keep going forward.
Yeah, it's just hard because you also could say that he failed John Locke in that regard too.
Yeah.
And he did not really give Richard Alpert the tools to have any good decision-making at the end. Like, Jacob had faults, and it's hard to, always be like, well, he was godlike. And he things did not play out exactly the way Jacob wanted them to. I mean, so many of his, ones that he picked ended up dying. Like, he ended up crossing Kate off the list because she essentially became a mother in a certain way. So he obviously couldn't.
Never learned.
Well, you could say that he obviously couldn't predict that well, and we saw the amount of names. Like, he clearly had gone through quite a few before.
He's been there for years.
And it's just, to me, it's like, how have we not figured it out by then? I don't know. Hard to gauge. But yeah, Richard Alpert, gosh, for a man who really seemed to have it all together, that last season just started to fall apart. He truly needed Jacob to tell him what to do.
No, I agree.
But yeah, no, overall, that is Lost. Again, quick breakdown. Lindsey's top 5 best characters. Worst to first, we've got Ben Linus, Charlie Pace, the Quans, John Locke, and Desmond Hume. My 5 best best characters from worst to first here. We've got Frank Lapidus, King Lapidus, Daniel Faraday, Saeed, Jack Shepard, Sawyer, James Ford. Why am I spacing Saeed's last name? Jarrah, thank you. And then for our worst, Lindsey's best to worst list. I don't know. She goes from Naomi. What's Naomi's last name? Dorrit. That's a dumb last name. All right, Naomi Dorrit to Achara, Paolo and Nikki, who I'm going to combine as one because they're both lame. Eloise Hawking, and then number one worst character for Lindsey is Charles Widmore.
I thought I had Eloise Hawking as number 2. I did.
You did, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see what you did. You went 5 up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my 5 worst to first, my number 5 is Ilana Verdansky, Horace Goodspeed, Frogert, Arnst, and of course, the worst, absolute worst, Anna Lucia. Thoughts on Rose and Bernard?
Okay, I was going to put Bernard.
On worst?
Yeah, he's annoying.
Wow. He is annoying.
He's
a dentist.
Honestly, Rose got annoying at times too. Like she hovered a lot. She was kind of, what do you tell me I'm doing? Barking. She barked a lot.
Yeah.
But
what do I tell you I'm doing?
No, I was gonna write them down, but I did like the fact that prior to the island, she was very sick. She came on this island, and she did not want to leave, and he did, and yeah.
He was always trying to save her, even when she didn't want to be saved. Okay. Well, now with that being the case, then we have finished our 3 segments. But you had told me during one of our breaks that you had some fun facts.
Oh no, it was wrong. Remember?
Oh, I didn't know if you had anything else past that.
Let's see.
Oh no, we're gonna do a live search. That's great for radio.
I'm sure all you guys do it.
Well, while Lindsey's looking up some fun facts about Lost, let me throw out a couple things here. Number 1, as I said at the beginning of the episode, if you liked this, if you think my voice is just not annoying enough, then go ahead and listen to the first couple episodes of this podcast where we break down all 66 or 68, however many Stephen King novels. Also, if you're a fan of pop culture, I encourage you to listen to Mic'd Up and Mildly Qualified from Desert Highway Radio. It's a pop culture comedy podcast, airs every 2 weeks. Now, Linz, you said you had some stuff?
I have one. So the original concept for the first episode was that Jack would die.
I do remember hearing that. And wasn't it, hold on here, was it Michael Keaton who was supposed to play Jack?
It doesn't say that, but it says after Jack would die, the character Kate would take over as the leader.
Oh, thank God that didn't happen.
Yeah. While the plan was to subvert expectations by killing off the hero, the executives of ABC said no.
I do believe that when that was the original game plan, it was Michael Keaton who was supposed to play Jack, and that Michael Keaton was on board because it was going to be a short episode. And then once the part got extended, he didn't want to be a part of it anymore. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Lost, I'm trying to think. I love, for those of you listening, didn't make my top 5, but I will give another shout out just in terms of a moment. The fact that Lost ends the same way it begins, obviously Lost begins with Jack Shepard opening his eyes. He sees Vincent the dog and then run towards the plane crash and the danger. Whereas the whole show ends with, Jack Shepard being done with the danger, going to that same spot in the bamboo forest, lays down and closes his eyes with Vincent the dog next to him again. So show starts with him opening them. Show ends with him closing his eyes. I think that was really well done. Also, just wanted to throw it out there. Damon Lindelof, one of the creators of Lost, after Lost, went on to create a different TV show called The Leftovers. And Leftovers, much like Lost, introduced a lot of mystery. Unlike Lost, Leftovers does not answer a whole lot of mysteries. And you might think that would be a detriment to the show, but I would say it is. I have The Leftovers as one of the best shows of all time.
That's one I definitely need to rewatch.
So good.
I remember liking it when I watched it, but my brain doesn't work like yours. I can't remember everything.
It's the power of autism.
Yeah.
Hey, it's on my doctor's notes. I'm allowed to use it. So, Leftovers. If you were a fan of Lost, I definitely recommend you listen or watch The Leftovers. It's 3 seasons, super easy. I think it's 10 episodes per season. It's not super long. But super, super good stuff there. And we might do another one of these TV show breakdowns. My wife and I watch TV shows together, which is why it takes us 10 years to watch them, because my wife always falls asleep. But, we've watched all sorts of things. We watched Breaking Bad, Wire. We currently are watching...
I love Breaking Bad.
Yeah. It's not one I need to rewatch.
I would.
I've already rewatched it with you.
I love that show.
And then right now we're watching Amazing Race and Traitors, and we watch the reality shows as well. The good ones, not Stupid Bachelor. But that being said, guys, if you like this, go ahead, subscribe to this podcast, rate, review, whatever you do. And go ahead and reach out to us on social media. We're at Desert Highway Radio on pretty much everything. Go ahead, tell us what you thought of this. If you're a big Lost fan, if you thought our opinions were garbage, tell me about it. I'd love to hear it. And once again, babe, thank you for joining me on For No One in Particular.
Thank you for having me.
Loved having you. Let's give a round of applause. Wow. Look at that.
Thank you.
I don't even know if you can hear it on here or not. I'll have to check and see.
I
after
can
the
hear it
fact.
in
I know we can. Sometimes it doesn't register the numbers.
That'll be embarrassing.
Yeah, well, you can't win them all. All right, guys, we'll catch you on another episode whenever I can release it. Bye.